cameras. You've probably driven past one without even realizing it may have recorded your license plate. Flock cameras are automated license plate readers now deployed by tens of thousands of cities across the country. The cameras photograph vehicles, they capture license plates, the time, and the camera location, all for law enforcement to investigate crimes, stolen cars, or missing people. But now the technology used to catch criminals is facing growing backlash over one big question: who is watching the watchers? All over the country, investigations have uncovered cases of police officers allegedly using license plate data, the basis for personal reasons, including tracking people they know or former romantic partners. Cities are now reconsidering or ending their contracts. We are digging deep into flock cameras this morning. Here's our Kara Castronova at the White House.
Block Safety has installed more than 120,000 AI-enabled automatic license plate reader cameras around the country. They photograph passing vehicles, read license plates, and record details such as the vehicle's make, model, color, and distinguishing characteristics. Police can then search the database to determine where and when a person's vehicle was seen or a particular vehicle was seen, and depending on sharing arrangements, potentially search data collected by cameras far outside their own jurisdiction. Flock says its network generates roughly 20 billion plate scans per month. People that make the case for these flock cameras, because there are obviously people, likely special interest groups that have investments in these flock cameras, will make a case for them. And this is what they'll say. They'll say that police departments argue that they're an extraordinarily effective investigation tool. Instead of manually reviewing hours of surveillance footage, an officer investigating a murder, kidnapping, stolen vehicle, or missing child can, according to people who support these flock cameras, they can enter a plate or vehicle description and quickly determine where that vehicle has appeared. Flock and police departments point to cases in which cameras have helped locate missing children and identify or apprehend violent crime suspects. Searches are logged, and Flock is now strengthening safeguards, requiring searches to be tied to case numbers, automatically flagging suspicious search activity, giving departments more control over data sharing, and reducing its standard retention period from 30 days to 7 days. Now, there's obviously a very big argument against them. Anybody that cares about privacy looks at this like, what comes next? The argument against them also is essentially that this creates a nationwide vehicle tracking system. Again, what comes next? A person doesn't have to be suspected of anything for their car to be photographed and entered into the database. Civil liberties advocates argue that when thousands of cameras and agencies are networked together, police can reconstruct someone's movements, where they worship, whom they visit, where they sleep, whether they attend a political event, etc., without first obtaining a warrant. And that concern isn't purely hypothetical. A Washington Post investigation found dozens of cases involving alleged misuse of license plate reader systems by officers, including officers accused of using them to literally track their wives, girlfriends, and ex-partners. More than 50 jurisdictions have reportedly canceled, suspended, rejected, or deactivated flock cameras amid this backlash. And importantly, do flock cameras use facial recognition? No, according to Flock, they do not use facial recognition. They explicitly say that they use a license plate reading system that does not collect facial recognition or biometric data and cannot identify somebody by their face. Its newer AI technology can search enabled video for observable characteristics, for example, clothing or accessories, while Flock says it isn't biometric facial identification. So the controversy really isn't, is Flock secretly using facial recognition? It's a stronger privacy argument, which is you don't necessarily need facial recognitions to track a person if you can continuously track the vehicle associated with them. That's why critics view the enormous interconnected database as a form of mass surveillance, while Flock and law enforcement view it as a powerful modern version of police looking for a suspect's car. But again, where does it end? Tucker Carlson had a really interesting take on this, and basically one of the points he's making is that jurisdictions that actually use Flock cameras do not have less murder rates than those that don't. Take a listen to Tucker Carlson.
How is it that we increase the surveillance past what 1984 describes, and we still have 500 murders in one U.S. county? Hard to know how that happened, but one conclusion we can draw confidently is that the point of the license plate readers and the facial recognition software, which are integrated, probably not to keep you safe. So if you're looking for a shortcut to decode everything that you're hearing about almost anything, discount the part where they say it's good for you, because that is not a relevant component to the formula. Should we do this? Well, let's see. Does it save us money? Does it increase profit? Is it good for us? Those are the three main criteria. What it does to you and your family, it's kind of not on the list. It's not a variable in that equation. So it is clear, in fact, it's proven, that if you turn a city into a panopticon, you still have, well, in the case of Harris County, Texas, hundreds of people getting murdered, but you have no more privacy, which is to say you have no more intimacy, which is to say you have no more freedom. Because privacy is a prerequisite for freedom. You cannot be free unless you can have independent thoughts and privacy.
And a lot of people, including myself, wanting to understand exactly who owns Flock, who is behind Flock cameras, where did they come from? So we will continue to investigate that. But from the amount of research that I did today, it's a privately held company. So there isn't a publicly available definitive cap table showing exactly who owns what percentage. But I think that should be made public because the government is working with Flock, obviously, to what a lot of people say surveil American citizens. So I do think that that should become public. But the most important people and money behind Flock is the CEO, co-founder Garrett Langley, and co-founder Matt Fury and Paige Todd. Now, on the investor side is Andreessen Horowitz. That's particularly significant. It led Flock's $150 million Series D and its $275 million 2025 financing. And other global investors include Tiger Global, Matrix Partners, Bedrock, Green Oaks, Meritech, Sands Capital, Kleiner Perkins, Y Combinator, and Founders Fund. But Andreessen Horowitz, I think that's a company, it's an A16Z, is particularly significant when it comes to the investor side. A lot of people suspicious that Peter Thiel has something to do with this. It's real, but a lot of people saying that it could be overstated. We don't know. We have to look more into that. But Thiel founded Founders Fund, and Founders Fund invested in Flock. So Peter Thiel obviously has something to do with it. But again, not sure if he's running it or personally holding a controlling stake. More to come on that. But what is especially interesting right now is how quickly the controversy has grown. Flock has roughly 120 cameras across 49 states, while lawmakers and communities on both the left and the right are raising concerns about government access, warrantless vehicle tracking, and misuse by individual officers. A lot of politicians have spoken out about this. Surprisingly, Abdul Al-Sayed seems to be against these Flock cameras. Abdul Al-Sayed is that far-left politician coming out of Michigan. He is the Democratic nominee for the 2026 United States Senate election in Michigan. This is what he had to say about Flock cameras.
Hey, does it ever feel like you're in a cage, kind of stuck, being watched? Well, that's because you are. There's been this mass proliferation of Flock cameras, any and everywhere. Little cameras watching your every move to collect information about you without you even noticing. That's all been part of a regime that's been pushed by, well, this guy.
Somebody must be doing something exactly right. But who would be complaining? Somebody whose privacy was violated. You can't have your privacy violated if you don't know your privacy is violated, right?
Who happens to be the guy I'm running against? That's Mike Rogers, who wants to be Michigan's next U.S. Senator, not if I have anything to say about it. So if you believe, like me, that you shouldn't just be surveilled because you're driving along the street, then I hope I can earn your support. Because we've got to stand up to this mass surveillance apparatus that is being built behind closed doors and behind our backs.
Bernie Sanders also very outspoken about these Flock cameras. This is what Bernie Sanders had to say on X. The AI surveillance company Flock has installed nearly 100,000 cameras across America to track your every movement. Going to the doctor, Flock knows. Dropping your kid off at school, Flock is tracking you. Flock is always watching. Stop AI mass surveillance. Stop Flock. So again, Bernie Sanders, it's interesting because sometimes the far right and the far left do come together on issues specifically around privacy. I think, and FISA, a lot of a lot of Democrats that are perceived to be on the far left and a lot of Republicans in the Freedom Caucus, like Anna Paulina Luna, like the old Matt Gaetzes of the party, as well as others, sort of come together when it comes to privacy specifically. And it seems like that is the case right now. For example, Thomas Massey, listen to what he had to say about flock cameras.
How many fans of flock cameras do we have in here? I heard a few boos. I didn't hear any claps. The government, yeah, we could all be safer if we all wore body cameras and head cameras and we had them in our living rooms and our bedrooms and on the street corners. It might make us safer, but in another way, it's going to make us less safe. And we cannot be trading our freedom of movement, our freedom of privacy for a little false promise of security. And these flock cameras have already been abused, just like the FISA program has been abused by the FBI. I mean, the FBI goes in there and looks up people on Tinder, some of these FBI agents, or looks up girlfriends that they've had to see if they're in the files. Well, you get the same thing going on with flock cameras. We don't elect angels to Congress. I guess you already knew that. But neither are the people who run these systems. And so we're far better off having our privacy. And so I'm going to introduce a bill that says that we're not going to give any federal money in order for it to be constitutional. I don't think I have the ability to ban flock cameras in any given city, but I sure do have the ability to say we're not going to give you money for the flock cameras. And so my bill will basically, as they say, follow the money. If you get grants for your police department or your municipality, whether it's a city or a county, to enforce safety or to provide protection of your citizens, we are not giving you that money to buy flock cameras or if you use flock cameras. And I know there are other brands of cameras, so we're going to write the legislation so that they can't change the name of the camera and get out of this.
So not surprising that Thomas Massey would be against flock cameras. I think that most of us could have predicted that just based on his political leanings and what he's leaned towards in the past regarding privacy laws. And to really nail down my point, Gavin Newsom seems to be in support of flock cameras. Although a lot of people say he's, quote, on the far left, he is perceived to be somewhat of a moderate Democrat or more of an establishment Democrat than someone, say, like El Sayed or an AOC, who I think would traditionally be against these flock cameras. I think Thomas Massey, I think the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, I think Anna Paulina Luna and others that sort of lean towards the Freedom Caucus would be very much against flock cameras. I think someone like Rand Paul would say that they were bad, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard Rand Paul speak out about these, but someone like Gavin Newsom, it would make sense that he would be supportive of these cameras.
So today we're announcing 480 new cameras. These are referred to as flock cameras, which will aid and support the efforts of law enforcement to focus on stolen vehicles. This is proven technology where privacy is foundational and a core component of the effort. This is building on efforts we made just a few weeks ago with a surge in California Highway Patrol in partnership with the Department of Justice. By the way, that's led to already 200 arrests, over 400 vehicles that have been recovered that were otherwise stolen. Part of a broad strategy, not just a law enforcement only strategy, to begin to beautify this extraordinary community here in Oakland and support the surrounding community.
Now, here is a video of a Fresno policewoman defending flock cameras.
And truly, you know, I get asked every year when I put out our crime stats, we've been so fortunate to have reduction year over year. And what is responsible for that? A lot of it is technology, and flock is not the sole reason, but it is a big part of that. For instance, it's been used in about 71% of our murder cases so far this year, about 39% of our shooting cases. It's helped to further those investigations. And by the way, I mean, we've solved a lot. We've had, I think, 39 gunshot wound cases in the city. We've solved 36 of them. And that's really remarkable. It's hard to compare that to other agencies around the country because they don't put that data out. But from what I can gather, it's definitely a standout from what other agencies are getting. Part of that is the technology we use. One of those things is Flock. We also have ShotSpotter, NIBIN, which examines our gunshot examination, forensic examination. We do a lot of things here with technology, but we do it all within the confines of the Constitution and the law. And that's what's really important, because I don't want to discount summarily people's concerns about flock. I have questions too. It's our job to, we take this badge, we swear to uphold the Constitution of this country, of this state, and part of that is observing the search and seizure laws, and flock does not violate those. Flock is our cameras that are out in the community that take pictures of cars in public places. They have no facial recognition capabilities. They don't capture faces. That's not their intent. That's not how they're placed. They do capture images of vehicles in public, and it is a searchable database.
And of course, President Trump did weigh in somewhat. I don't think that the administration has really made a decision on their stance on flock cameras. The one great thing about President Trump is I think he does listen to his base when it comes to these things, and it is a controversial subject. So a reporter did ask President Trump about this in the Oval Office, and here is what he had to say.
There's a lot of debate right now about these license plate scanners that are going up across the country. They're called flock cameras. People are worried that the police might misuse them. Have you heard of them?
Yep.
Or what's your stance?
Well, it's being studied right now. You know, you have pros and cons, right? It's being studied right now. We'll have an answer sort of as to our views on it over the next couple of weeks.
So there you have it, President Trump saying that the administration will weigh in the near future when it comes to flock cameras. But let us know what you think. Do you think that flock cameras are an invasion of American citizens' privacy? Are they unconstitutional? Why are flock cameras bad? Or on the flip side, do you think that they're necessary? Do you think that it's important that police have this information? Or could it be leading to more of a police state? Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
So is flock making our communities safer, or sacrificing too much privacy in the process? Again, you can join the conversation. If you're watching online this morning, let us know in the comments below. Iran's economy is crashing, and the numbers tell a stunning story. For ordinary Iranians, prices are going up at the grocery stores, the pharmacies, and the gas stations. Since before the war, the prices of chicken, that's jumped 74%. Cooking oil up 177%, and baby formula 95%. Panic buying is going on right now. All of this comes as the Trump administration tightens economic screws on Tehran with a new sanctions campaign aimed at further isolating Iran from the global economy. Shaheen Gabati is here with us today with the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Shaheen, thanks so much for joining us. How bad is Iran's economy right now for the average Iranian family?
Well, good morning. And first of all, thanks for having me. As you mentioned very correctly, the Iranian economy has been going down for the past number of years, but now it has extremely accelerated. The annual inflation rate is almost 130%. Compared to last year. That means that, you know, a product that you bought, for instance, $1 last year now is in Iran, is in the same market, $2.30. And this is even more severe on some very basic staples like meat, which has gone up 150%, and a lot of other basic staples. And overwhelming majority of Iranians are having very much difficulties to make their ends meet. According to the regime's own statistics in their own state media, an average worker's salary is now almost enough for only 9 to 10 days. So one could wonder, how could they, you know, sustain such a situation, you know, when the overwhelming majority of the people are facing such a difficult situation. And one has to be clear-eyed that this economic situation is primarily because of the regime's own policies. For years and years, literally for decades, the priority of this regime has been, you know, repressing Iranian people, propping up proxies, supporting terrorism, going for nuclear weapons or ballistic missiles, and financing IRGC, that is the security military apparatus that has kept the regime in control. And the situation has got so severe that even some of the regime's own, you know, senior governments, like officials, like the Speaker of the Parliament, just on August 21st, warned that, you know, if the people stay hungry as they are, and we have, you know, negative productivity, there's no way we can control the situation as it is. So they are very worried that the public would erupt and you will face a new uprising. So in that sense, for 4 decades, we have been basically calling as the resistance, as the National Council of Resistance of Iran, as President-elect Madam Mariam Rajavi, for comprehensive sanctions against the regime, tightening this, basically the noose on the regime's economic, key sectors, because every single dollar that this regime gets, as I said, is either used to repress the Iranian people or for the regime's nefarious conduct outside of Iran, or is plundered by the regime's officials. So you are absolutely correct. The regime is under tremendous economic pressure, and it's growing by the day. But at the end of the day, the ultimate solution for the Iranian situation is a regime change, and that should come by the Iranian people and the organized resistance. So yes, these tough sanctions really would put pressure on the regime, but the ultimate solution is in the hands of the Iranians and the resistance.
Yeah, and Shaheen, I don't like this at all for the Iranian people because they have been dealing with this for decades, this corrupt regime. And so, like you mentioned, President Trump, his administration, tightening the sanctions on the economy there, but it's affecting the people, and that's who we worry about at the end of the day. Are the people there, are they reaching a point where basic necessities are becoming unaffordable?
They have almost gone there, and as I said, it's getting almost worse by the day, and all one has to do is read the regime's state-controlled media. Obviously, everybody who has some senses is worried about the plight of the Iranian people who have been living under the thumb of this regime. But what makes the situation even more saddening is that they are living in such a resourceful country. Iran has about 1% of the world population, yet has about 8 to 9% of the oil minerals. I mean, the number 3 or 4th, in terms of oil reserves, number 2 in the world for gas reserves, and you name a lot of other minerals. So the potential in that country is tremendous. What the problem has been, the regime and its policies, as I just mentioned. So the Iranian economy is not going to get any better no matter what, because it's very much intertwined with the policies of this regime. And the fact of the matter is that the IRGC is now controls more than 60% and growing of the Iranian economy. So yes, people are really, really feeling the pressure and the brunt of this whole situation, and that cuts across the board. I'm talking about, for instance, the Iranian currency is called rial. Just last week, it reached its historical low. Now, more than 2 million rials is in exchange for $1. And that's almost twice of what it was a year ago. And it's going down and down and down, further down, and everything's tied to the value of dollars. So in that sense, you're absolutely correct. The Iranian people are feeling the brunt, and that's a very, very worrisome sign for the regime, because given the fact that there has been 4 major uprisings in Iran, the regime is worried that this time there might be even much bigger, uprising, and it will be coupled by the organized resistance, namely the Network of the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, which is active inside Iran. And that's why the regime has resorted to what I described as a strategy of noose, and that is executing more and more dissidents in order to avert this uprising that they really sense has become inevitable.
The Trump administration has also warned other countries. This is not just about Iran. This is for other countries as well, who may or are thinking about funding Iran, sending them money. Let's listen to Scott Bessent, what he had to say just a couple of days ago.
The president is making phone calls to world leaders with specific requests to cease their interactions with the regime. We are already seeing results. Over the weekend, comments from Iranian leadership clearly acknowledged the effect of this campaign, and nations that facilitate any interactions with the regime should quickly heed our message. Those who stand with the United States will reap the rewards of our partnership. Those who tether themselves to the Iranian regime should expect to share in the isolation of a withering regime.
Shaheen, how will this affect the regime if the other countries, other world leaders back away from them and cut them of their resources as well?
Oh, it will have a very serious impact. The fact of the matter is there has been a sanctions regime, not as strong, but there has been. But it has been, and we know for a fact that there has been a lot of loopholes. A lot of front companies, a lot of cover companies, particularly on oil exports, petrochemicals, and these key sectors and banking systems have been able to circumvent and skirt the sanctions and get back, U.S. dollars and other currencies into the country, which, again, as I said, has been used to finance the regime's nefarious conduct. So if the sanctions are really, really implemented and no loopholes are tolerated and all these front companies are closed, the regime will really start feeling the squeeze. For instance, UAE for years, according to a lot of international statistics, was like a backyard for the regime using it. And now just last week, UAE severed all economic ties with the regime. And the regime has been using a lot of shadow fleets to circumvent sanctions by selling oil at lower discount prices. And if all of these are basically shut down, the regime will really start feeling the pressure. Particularly, as I said, one has to keep in mind that they are facing a very, very dissatisfied population, which was in the streets in millions just past January. Very true that they were massacred in thousands, but the situation has gotten worse. The regime is now much weaker, and at the same time, the resistance and the MEK resistance units are getting stronger. So yes, if the international community comes in terms and prevents all these loopholes, the regime will really, really start feeling the heat.
And when they feel that heat, Shaheen, could this finally lead to the fall of the Iranian regime?
Well, the regimes don't fall by themselves. The task of overthrowing this regime is a task incumbent among the Iranian people and the organized resistance. We always maintained that appeasement, which was the main policy for decades, is going to be totally counterproductive, and I think time bore us out. But at the same time, we always maintained that foreign war is not a solution. And I think now, tomorrow marks the 6 months after the war. I think the validity of that assessment is before us. So yes, that will put a lot of pressure on the regime, will make the regime's tentacles much less effective. But at the end of the day, the key factor are the Iranian people and the organized resistance. And I think what's important is that these measures be coupled with political support for the resistance and recognition of the right of the Iranian people to overthrow the regime. Trust me, so long as this regime is there, you're not going to see an end to three main tenets of this regime. Number one, repression against the Iranian people. Number two, propping up terrorists and proxy groups. Number three, going for nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. This is how this regime has survived. This is how it has threatened the whole world. This is how it has repressed the Iranian people. And they will continue this course as long as they can. So cutting off their finances obviously will put a lot of pressure on them. But at the end of the day, as I said, the ultimate change should come by the Iranian people and the resistance. And that's what we are striving for day in and day out.
Yeah, we need to cut them of their oxygen, and a lot of that does have to do with the economy. And so with the funding that they're getting, it's very unfortunate. Hope that it helps for the Iranian people. That's who we're worried about in this situation, have been from the get-go for decades. It's time for change for them, and we always pray for the best. Shaheen, it was good to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for stopping by and updating us.
Well, thanks for having me, and have a good day.
You too. Nearly 30 years after Tupac Shakur was gunned down on the Las Vegas Strip, prosecutors have now rested their case against the man they say orchestrated one of the most infamous murders in music history. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is charged with murder in Tupac's 1996 killing. Davis has pled not guilty. Dean Golomis, a former police detective, is here with us today. Dean, thanks so much for stopping by. Good to have you on the show. This is a big one to follow. Prosecutors are not accusing Davis of pulling the trigger. Instead, they're saying he was the shot caller who helped plan and supply the gun. Now, I want to point out that under Nevada law, prosecutors can pursue a murder conviction against someone accused of helping carry out a crime, even if that person didn't fire the fatal shots. There have been lots of testimony. There's been lots of witnesses. What's your take so far with this trial?
Well, thanks for having me, Vanessa. So it's a very interesting case. Unusual in the fact that it's built solely on the statements of the defendant. If he would have kept his mouth shut, as they say, we wouldn't be here today talking about this. corroboration is going to be the key to this whole case, right? He says he made some statements at different times over the last 30 years that he puts himself in the car where the shots were fired from, and that's what the prosecution is using to prosecute Mr. Davis. We have no DNA evidence. We have no fingerprints. We have no physical evidence. We just have the statements of Dwayne Davis. It's going to be a very tricky case to get a conviction of, I feel.
You know, I want to point out what you just said. Davis has said in the past that he was inside the Cadillac. He discussed handling the gun at some point. However, his attorneys, the defense, says that those statements were essentially him bragging and storytelling, and that they, you know, don't really play a role in the truth of what really happened that night. But this case, this has been going on for 3 decades. TUPAC was 25 years old. For our viewers, just to take you back, he was riding in a BMW driven by Death Row Records co-founder Suge Knight. Then a white Cadillac pulled alongside their car and someone opened fire. TUPAC was shot multiple times and he died 6 days later. And for 3 decades, the world has wondered who shot TUPAC, who was in that car. And you're absolutely right. Davis has said that he was in the car, but now is saying he's pleading not guilty, and his defense saying, oh, he was just, you know, bragging, doing what I guess rappers do.
You know, it's a unique circumstance in the fact that the nature of this rap world is bravado, right? And talking about the more street cred you have by talking about the crazy things you did, the more marketable you are as an artist, right? Or the more important you are in that world. So it's not such a stretch to believe that he's just bragging on about this to put himself there. It's a good tactic by the defense. It's going to come down to who do we believe? You know, when you're doing a homicide investigation, you get a story, right? It could be a confession, it could be a corroborated story, an allegation. You then try to prove or disprove it in your investigation. Many times in my career, I have seen or heard of someone confessing to something that absolutely didn't do it. Once the investigators began trying to corroborate the person's story to see if they in fact were there, if they know details that only the murderer would know, we can prove or disprove whether or not that confession was real. This situation, we're just going off of what he said at different times in different contexts. It's going to be a challenge, and it's going to come down to who does the jury feel is the most credible. I'd be very interested to see if he takes the stand for his defense. That's going to be, it could go either way for him. It's going to be very, very exciting the next couple of days.
Absolutely, it will be. And I don't know. I always wonder, too, if he'll take the stand. But if his defense is saying that he misspoke or he was storytelling, then they probably don't want him on the stand talking. But we shall see. His accomplices, friends, people they know, have all, names have been brought up. A former security guard actually took the stand, and he's saying pretty mum about what happened that night. Apparently he was there, and this is what he had to say. Okay, we don't have a stop for that, but the security guard says that he had an entire different life back in the day, 3 decades ago. He says that he is not trying to send this man to jail. And so he just stayed mum on the stand. He wouldn't talk much and really not answer any questions. And so it's almost like he was protecting whoever was involved that night. But, Dean, I know that in 3 decades, technology has changed. But they had left the MGM Grand and they were on their way somewhere after a little altercation at the MGM Grand. There's no security cameras, even in 1996, of who got into a vehicle, no security cameras along the Vegas Strip and the roads that they were driving on. It's hard for me to fathom and believe that Nobody saw anything. And for 30 years, we have been left wondering who was in the vehicle, who shot Tupac.
In the early and mid 90s, I was a detective then, and believe it or not, there was nowhere near the camera systems that we have today. But in a casino, probably had the best of the best at the time.
Yeah.
But again, it's not. We're so used to being recorded now. Every time you step out of your house, you might as well assume you're on somebody's camera, a Ring camera. It just wasn't that way in the early 90s. And the footage that they did have was on actual tapes, which get degraded. They would use a videotape for a certain period of time, and then it would automatically tape over the old every 3 months, every month. Everyone is different. And every time you taped over and over and over, it degraded the clarity of the video. So they could have video, and it's just unusable, or there's no information on it. But again, whether or not we think that is a good thing they found video or not, they didn't. They have no video. They have no evidence other than Dwayne Davis's statements. And that's, I know a lot of district attorneys, and I'm not sure that, that they would go with a case like that in New York, where I was working at the time. Anyway, it's a very unusual case, and it's very, very interesting to watch from my perspective.
Absolutely. And, the prosecution has to prove that Davis was there and he participated, beyond reasonable doubt. And so, like you said, this is a
That's a high bar, Vanessa.
Yes, yes. And if you just have this rapper, and we know if you listen to rap music or any music, I mean, that's what musicians do. They tell stories and they like to brag and all the things.
And embellish.
Yes. And, you have these competitions between the record labels, and we've even heard, and maybe you can elaborate more on this, Diddy. His name has been brought up that maybe he was involved some way, somehow during the line. So it's all of this he said, she said, rappers going up against everybody. But whoever was in the car that night, this bodyguard that took the stand just this week, no one is snitching on anyone. They have stayed quiet, lips are sealed for 30 years, except for James, who once said he was in that car and he handled the gun at some point.
Right. Well, like I said, there's allegations about P. Diddy's involvement. I know that Dwayne Davis had said that he had something to do with it. And again, that's an allegation. I'm sure law enforcement ran that lead down. You get an allegation, you get a story. It's the investigator's job to then chase that lead down and see if there's any merit to it. As far as the security guard not talking, why would he? 30 years later, they call. He knows that they don't have anything. They just have a statement. As long as he keeps out of it, the security guard could make or break the case, to be honest with you. And I think the prosecution probably could have done a better job of prepping and seeing what kind of witness that guy was before they put him on the stand. Because they put him on the stand, they got a goose egg out of it. They must have thought that they were going to get more information than they did, or they probably wouldn't have put him on the stand.
You're absolutely right. And, you would think that they would have done a better job. However, you also have to think that the security guard might be fearing for his life if he says anything that is worrisome or could be damaging to Davis, who's sitting right there, and his entourage who's watching at home. So he's a grandfather now. He testified about that. Sure. He has a family at home. And if he says too much, I know he took an oath, but if he says too much, he may not live to see another day.
Right. And again, I think if you're a investigator looking at this case, Dwayne Davis made statements that he handed the gun to his nephew, who's conveniently passed away from a drive-by shooting in 1998. So he's kind of passing the buck. Maybe Dwayne Davis didn't realize that Nevada law allows him to be charged in the homicide, even though he wasn't actually the gunman. So the story he told, which puts him in the car, which makes him seem cool, but exonerates him from any culpability because he handed the gun to a guy who can no longer be interviewed or talked to about it. Not realizing that then he can.
I'm so glad
get
you said that, because I was just thinking that last night when I was looking at the Nevada law. I thought the same exact thing. I bet he did not know that just because you were in the vehicle, under Nevada law, you can still be charged with murder. If he knew
Again,
that,
that
he
doesn't
might not
really
have
help.
said what he had said.
And again, that doesn't help the prosecution or the defense either way, because he could say, well, I was just bragging. I figured I was safe to say that because I wasn't implicating myself, not realizing I was implicating myself. It's almost like a draw, right? The prosecution has their statement. The defense has theirs. It was bravado. Is there enough to push a conviction? It's going to be very, very, very interesting to see what the jury decides. And I like this better than sports, watching these kind of things and kind of Monday morning quarterbacking them,
Oh, yes. As a law enforcement officer, I'm sure you, go through all of the testimony and especially when the law enforcement's on the stand and see how their investigation went. I can only imagine. But I hope that you do come back as this trial continues to unfold and take place. More interesting days ahead. We'll see if Davis takes the stand. And,
that's
I'm
$1 million
Tupac fan,
question.
And yes, and I, along with millions of others across the world, we want justice for Tupac, but will we ever truly know who shot Tupac Shakur? I just don't think that we'll ever know.
Well, we'll find out in a couple of days. I'm sure this is going to wrap up quickly. They only have 4 witnesses. The defense only has 4 witnesses, I believe, on the list. So that should wrap up early next week. It should be turned over to the jury for a decision, or verdict.
We'll see. We're going to keep you posted here on My Mornings. Dean, good to have you on the show. Please come back when there's a verdict. I'd love to get your reaction 3 decades later as we start continuing to watch this trial. It's very interesting, to say the least. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Vanessa.
Well, round them up and ship them out. We check in with ICE as they continue to deport illegals all across America. That's coming up next.
Well, hello, everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call Chapter at 234-LINDELL or go to askchapter.org/Lindell. You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS, while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit CenturyH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, well, we have proudly partnered with AirWaterHealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. That's promo code Lindell at AirWaterHealing.com.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both, and we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice, speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Baby, all I need is a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
If that doesn't get you going this morning, I don't know what will. As we're sipping our morning coffee at work, ICE is in the streets rounding up illegals right now, and they're deporting them out of here. Here's more from the Department of Homeland Security.
It's morning again in America. Today, more men and women will go to work than ever before in our country's history. 14 straight months of zero illegal aliens released into our nation demonstrates the success of Trump's border security policies. 80% of Americans agree with our efforts to arrest and remove illegal alien murderers, pedophiles, rapists, and other heinous criminals. They can look forward with confidence to the future. It's morning again in America. And under the leadership of President Trump, our country is prouder and stronger and better. Why would we ever want to return to where we were less than 4 short years ago?
We wouldn't want to return there. We've had 0 border crossings. All we needed was a new president. And like they said, it's morning again in America. And what a great day, knowing our country is much more safer today than it was just 2 years ago. When we come back here on My Mornings, we take you to a parade with our Marines in Washington, D.C. Stay with us.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus, free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now. And like everybody else out there, I have used my arm, folded my pillows, got migraines in the morning from sleeping on poor pillows, and pillows are the problem. There is no bigger problem than a pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it holds that support all night long to take the pressure off your shoulders and keep your neck aligned. One's the size of a quarter, one's the size of a dime, and one's the size of down. Inside every pillow, they're interlocked together. You see how that holds?
Oh my gosh.
That
It's
will
soft,
not
but
migrate.
supportive.
Wherever you set that, you get exactly what you need for your individual neck support. I do all of my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota, and every part of my pillow is made in the USA. It's machine washable and dryable, and it comes with my 60-day money-back guarantee and a full 10-year warranty. Sleep is one of the most important things to your health, and my pillow is one of the most important things to your sleep.
So go to mypillow.com or call 800-676-2147. Use promo code LTV to take advantage of this exclusive LINDELLTV offer. Order now.
Welcome back to My Mornings. It's now 9:52 a.m. on the East Coast. Good morning to all of you. Let's take a look at Wall Street opening bell numbers, a live look from MarketWatch.com. The Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ all up big. At this hour, the big driver this morning, NVIDIA. Shares jumped in after-hours trading after the chip giant delivered better than expected quarterly results and an upbeat sales outlook. That's giving Wall Street another sign that spending on artificial intelligence remains strong. In your news to go, as you start your day, here's a look at the president's schedule for today at 8 o'clock this morning. He held an executive meeting. Then at 10:30, he will have a policy meeting followed by signing time at 1:30 this afternoon. Then he will leave Washington, D.C. for Texas at 6 p.m. Central Time. He will attend a Republican National Convention event in Houston. Make sure you're following us on social media, also online at LINDELLTV.com for all your news updates throughout the day. And never miss a newscast in the mornings. You can watch wherever you are. If you're at work, if you're at home, if you're on vacation, anywhere on the go, all you need is the LINDELLTV app. It is free in your app store, also on your phones and on your tablets. Here is our Bible verse of the day. The Bible says this: "Blessed be the God and Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly place in Christ, just as he chose us in him before the foundations of the world, that we would be holy and blameless before him." And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you same time, same place tomorrow. And we leave you today with video from White House advisor Dan Scavino from the Marine Barracks, Washington. It's video of their evening parade. Have a good day.
Well, hello, everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent, and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call Chapter at 234-LINDELL or go to askchapter.org/Lindell.